All right. So if you are, I'll wait a second right here because you are just tuning in. I just spoke to myself for 45 minutes straight, and it was just me the entire time, apparently talking to myself. I was like, oh, clearly it's going to go live. I mean, that's how streams work. They just go live if you press go. That's not what happened at all. So we have one person looking right now because I am a Muppet. I'm an absolute Muppet, and I screwed that up really badly. Like I said, I've been talking for 45 minutes right now. Yeah, sorry about that, man. As I was saying, I pressed stream and then didn't click go live apparently. I switched up cameras because I have such a crappy camera. I was like, oh man, I want to make sure to get a good camera for this, right? And so I was really focused on getting my iPhone working as a camera. And so I was like, doing like this thing, like, trying to make it work and all that. And when I did it, apparently I didn't go live properly. So I've been talking to myself for 45 minutes straight. And I was so impressed with myself at the end. I was like, man, they're just left speechless. They are so excited right now. They're just loving it. And that is not what happened at all. Here, let me turn myself up a little bit for you. Right, that should be better. Sorry about that. I don't normally stream, obviously, so this is a bit of a snafu for me. So, oops, sorry. Because I got to the end of it, and I was like, why are people saying, where's Cody? Did you become a goat and moved into Paul? What? What do you mean? I'm right here. And I was like, oh no. Oh, they can't hear me. They can't hear me at all. Oh, shit. So, that was, you may only be hearing audio from the left side because I am using a microphone that only was one side, and I can't remember how to do it off the top of my head right now. Let's see if I go to properties, and I can. Yep, it's going to only come to the left. Figure this out in 2 seconds. Filter advanced audio properties. Yep, that'll do it. Okay, tracks 1, track 2. And boom, now you should be good. Yep, there we go. Figured it out. Thank you for pointing that early. Otherwise, I would have been talking in mono out of one of your ears this whole time, right? This guy sounds like the Total War guy, the Noob's Guide guy. Yeah, no, funny thing, right? Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you for pointing that out. I wish that I had noticed that sort of thing earlier. Although I wouldn't have been talking to myself for 45 minutes. I've been streaming 45 minutes. I was laying my heart bare and I was like doing all this stuff. I get to the end. I'm like, I think I may have messed up. So I appreciate you guys migrating over really quickly right here. I do apologize. Right. So the reason we're gathered here today, dearly beloved, is to mourn the passing of the Total War Content Creator Program, which many of you are not sad to see go, which is one of those really funny things because to me, it didn't really deserve any hatred or vitriol whatsoever because it was sort of the most boring entity imaginable. So it's been really weird to me to see just how much people disliked something that they didn't seem to understand. So I just wanted to take a little time to kind of sit down and explain my kind of internal impressions and what I did with it. Because it's incredibly boring. And the hatred is the weirdest thing in the world to me. But then I'm going to open up to questions from you guys, and I'll answer some questions from the main YouTube page. Again, I'm looking around my camera right here, which is part of the problem from last time, is I was looking directly at a tripod, and it caused me all sorts of untold issues. So there's a lesson here somewhere, kids, about not trying to do it all yourself, I suppose. I don't know. But anyway, we're just going to roll with it, and I'll put that back over on live and put that where I can see it right there. Yep, we'll get into all that. And look as amazing as Cody. Thank you so much. This beard, man. This is called the It's Cold Outside beard. And I wanted to not have a cold face. Normally it's a mustache throughout most of the year. Okay, so I'll start off with just sort of reading you guys my experiences because I wrote them down. Figured that's the easiest way to sort of do it. And then at the end, as you guys start having questions, do make sure to throw them out there. So for you, those of you that do not know, this week the Creative Assembly killed the Total War Content Creator Program, which may be something you've never even heard of. And the thing is, that's probably a good thing, since nearly everything you've heard about the program is likely wrong. Let's be honest here. Lately, the Creative Assembly hasn't been delivering for its fan base. Internal chaos mixed with an overburdened bureaucracy has left CA a non-entity in the forums and public eye. And as a result, public sentiment has turned on the only ones who are still talking about Total War, mainly us, the content creators. And so people are lashing out at us. So we've become the target of misinformation, clickbait, outright lies, and generally have been made a scapegoat that CA seems all too happy to let the internet eat in its stead. CA itself has failed to address any of this, including what the program actually was or how it functioned, and I'm tired of being hung out to dry, so I'm going to detail my experiences on the inside and then open it up to you for Q&A, as I mentioned a moment ago, clear it out a bit, as it's been framed with a really absurd veil of secrecy. So here's the truth. It was not some sort of secret cabal of shills. It was a glorified mailing list. It began as an informal group back in 2016, and I joined in 2017. And typically there was a single person from CA who sort of acted as the coordinator between the company and like anyone that wanted to talk with the company. And it worked pretty much like every other video game company outreach program I have ever talked to, except this one had a Discord, which meant you had a place to hang out filled with other people who also made videos about Total War, which was fun. I mean, initially this made a collaboration and was, reporting bugs easier. But by the end, I mean, the room was silent for weeks at a time and people would then erupt in outrage at whatever news came out. I mean, it just wasn't really a thing you did anymore. I personally avoided it. The assumption was that if you asked to join the content creator program, because anyone could, it was on their website. There was actually a little page you could fill out. I mean, it says, hey, do you have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube? Cool. Ask to join. That was it. The assumption was that you loved Total War games and were already making videos about them. And this was meant to help facilitate you doing that. I mean, most YouTube game channels work a bit like content-specific websites. We're just another form of gaming press, and we were treated like that. I mean, we weren't paid to be in it. That rumor seems to have been started by a single YouTube channel with a priapic hate boner, whose entire algorithm is based on stirring controversy. So we would be sent keys for DLC or games, which equated to generally around $100 or so a year worth of value. And sometimes we would get access to trailers or news a day or so early to prepare coverage. But that was sporadic and really dependent on, was it done? I don't even know. Just like every other gaming online website, you've ever read news or a review on, they all get the stuff slightly early to make the reviews. That last bit about the occasional early access was especially useful for me. I won't pretend otherwise because I have 3 kids and rushing to do a video at 10 a.m. when the blogs normally drop just isn't an option for me. The only time pay came into any of this is if Total War, the larger company, was running a marketing campaign. And typically you can tell when this happened because they were associated with a game launch or a major DLC, and you would see random videos pop up across the internet, like Warhammer baking recipes, or where the history videos would suddenly talk about Warhammer when they normally don't. And, it's just generally channels that don't normally cover Total War would, because they were being paid to do so. It's a sponsorship. That's how that works. These were called sponsored influencer campaigns or paid influencer campaigns. And there's entire websites for YouTube people to go on to if you want to join one. Typically, they're handled externally. Total War is one of the few companies that still does it themselves. And for a while, if you were in the content creator program, you actually were not allowed to take part in any of them. Why bother when you're already covering their content? Why bother paying you? Eventually, this was relaxed because, frankly, sort of the internet changed. It became much more common about 3 or 4 years ago. And a lot of the larger channels repeatedly pointed out Total War was the only company that still wasn't letting its regular players participate in sponsorship campaigns if they wanted to. Anyone could submit an idea to Total War's marketing team during these campaigns. You basically say, hey, I have an idea for a video. Here's what I want to do. Just like I do on any website if I want to do a marketing campaign. It's the same thing. And, basically, if it was picked, they would offer you a sponsored video with terms and conditions, again, identical to every company I've ever worked with. And this came up, I don't know, about once a year. And there were a very limited number of slots for each campaign, and they typically paid a few $100 if you got it. So I mean, it's all to say that the content creator program was a marketing tool developed by the Creative Assembly that connected channels that covered Total War with the company that made the game. Every major video game company has a version of this or pays another company to do it for them. That's why if you accept goods or money when you make a video that is sponsored, it's in the contract that you have to state aloud and declare that by clicking a button on YouTube before you post it, so that you, the viewer, can legally distinguish if something is sponsored or not. I mean, the gaming companies are liable if you don't, and they take it very seriously. So if someone is getting paid, you will always know about it, or you should. But the conversation surrounding the Total War Creator Program really had changed in the last 2 or 3 years, let's say. And, certain YouTubers said they were giving feedback to make the game better, and that feedback was ignored. And ignoring them was a personal affront, which later morphed into anyone who isn't constantly bashing the company and berating its staff and its decisions and being critical is a shill, which has been terrifying to watch happen in real time, where any lack of criticism is suddenly a problem. I've submitted feedback on every item I have ever played since I joined the program, and I can't think of a single example that it's made it into the game, except for one weird tooltip I pointed out. But even then, it was never clear if it was because I said it or it was already going to change. The simple fact is that when we played something, in early access with all the other press a week before its release, it had been in development for years, months, and very little could be done to change it by that point. I mean, you didn't like how the unit cards looked for something? Most oftentimes, neither did I. And I would say something, most people would too, just like you would when you saw it. I mean, it can't change fast enough. It's just not physically possible for them to do it with the way their company's set up. Let's see. Pointless. I personally found it far more effective to make a video about a problem. When you watch a video and you upvote it and you share that video, it now has thousands of voices behind an idea instead of just my own, which gives that idea weight and traction. And I've heard multiple times that, oh yeah, we changed that because we saw that in your video. I never had to ask directly, So, but even then, there are ways of making a video that are constructive instead of yelling myself red in the face like Total War is a dog that just soiled the carpet, which is something only assholes do on both counts. Yet, the chronic dick hurt channels have flourished. In real life, I generally try to be a positive individual who spreads that around himself, and I will not pretend to be an asshole online to be considered authentic. That's not authentic, that's clickbait. It's confusing that many Total War fans seem to only want videos about how much a creator hates Total War. Like it's a race to see who can be the most outraged. So they can all hate it together, I guess. And it's not because these channels or the people even necessarily want to make Total War better. When changes get made, rage YouTubers inevitably find something else to rage about, because that's what their channel's built around. They have to stir controversy to remain relevant. It's called outrage porn. And since CA is struggling to find its own ass right now, that leaves a lot of content to fill with outrage. And content creators are sort of public enemy number. It's just a long list of times they said something positive about a game they love. I mean, I personally have been playing Total War since Medieval 1, and it directly influenced like what I went to school for later in life about taking history and archaeology and finding ways to express it through media. And yet every day you see comments, threads, entire videos dedicated to hating everyone associated with this content creator program, like including actual stalker lists of our names with drive folders holding thousands of clips from our videos. And when I found that, it was just so fucking weird. My wife said that is it's creepy. It's weird. So, if that's what the content creator program means, man, good riddance to it. I mean, theoretically, CA will open a new player outreach program in the spring, with a smaller focus or something. But I honestly have my doubts about that. If this pushback continues, like the overall just expression is so negative. And at least for myself, I mean, there's a serious question if I want to be associated with that much vitriol going forwards. I mean, you've all seen the countless threads, comments, and videos dragging the names of anyone associated with the program through the mud. And apparently, being on CA's key mailing list paints a target on your back. So, I mean, for what? A free DLC twice a year? A chance at a sponsorship that you can get through other companies easier? I mean, it's hard to call that a mutually beneficial relationship. We're being blamed for all their shortcomings and face tanking their attackers, all with no voice at the table. Maybe if I was getting paid to, but we're not. And that's my experience with the Total War content creator program. It's like kind of boring. It's not like some sort of super secret society or anything. I mean, I spoke with several other large channels over the last few months leading up to this, and they all said to just ignore the personal attacks and blatant lies, but they didn't go away. And the silence only just seemed to make it all worse. I mean, some have even chosen to support the rage channels and have seen direct benefit to their viewership because of it. I mean, I doubt anything you've just heard violates any terms or conditions that I've ever said with CA. And since the program is closed, I mean, it's unclear who I'd even ask. But I can say with certainty, I'm not a CA employee, as they're protected from harassment. While the creators have done, with creators, I mean, they've done nothing to stop this misinformation and attacks. It's just weird. I mean, all because I enjoy a video game series? So I'm going to open the floor up to you guys. Ask whatever questions you have about the now defunct content creator program, and let's get this cleared up. I have a couple questions that people had posted previously that I'm going to kind of pull up just because they did make sure to put them in ahead of time. I want to make sure to answer them. One of the ones I thought was especially troublesome that I wanted to get out of the way is it true that CA is actually run by a band of raccoons masquerading as sea otters, pretending to be humans? And, hey, do you want to know about upcoming press release? Yeah, cool, man. Of course I do. That sounds awesome. Oh, great. And then I would talk about it. I mean, there's not really an unreasonable demand right there. So, yeah. They killed his stream. Oh, God. Please tell me the stream is still going. No. Something go weird? Got silenced. What? Oh, no. Okay. People are just acting weird. Okay. Now say it all again. Who had Fuller's info? Crazy people. Crazy people, man. Whoa. That's been really eye-opening. Like the number of... Like, take this exceedingly serious. Okay, so here we go. And the other question that I saw elsewhere was... what was it? It was like, what is it? Do they take feedback serious? Yeah, it's from the Arc Light. CA was planning to take it seriously, listen to feedback, and make fair changes. The feedback thing is one, like I was saying a minute ago. The feedback stuff's sort of weird. That it's the feedback when we're asked to submit feedback is much like when you guys give feedback on reviews on Steam. I mean, most of the time the feedback we give is just like the review we had, and I just take pieces of it and submit it as feedback. We are sort of congregators, and I've said this on other videos I've done as well, where it's like we look at what other people say across the community, and we try and put it all together for them in a way that makes sense. Part of the problem with submitting feedback on any of this stuff, and I'm sure you've heard of some other content creators, they're like, man, why didn't they listen to me? You're one of how many people giving feedback? And it always gets into the question, it's like, should your feedback be more valued if you are a larger channel? right? I mean, on the one hand, theoretically, you have a large channel, you know the game, people respect you, they're looking at your stuff. But does that voice get more value because of that? Does their voice outweigh my voice? And you start getting into some really difficult questions at that point. So I don't envy anyone who ever has to collect feedback and parse through it in a way to make it usable. Right. Let's see. It's actually. Did I write? You said it's actually. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the moonshiner, like the glass mason jar cups. I don't know, man. Like, I have a lot of plastic cups around the house, and they taste funny. I find the glass is the only thing that doesn't taste weird. And my children have broken all my other glasses except for the mason cups. And so it's one of those that I just, yeah, I drink my mason cups now because it's the only ones I have left, which sounds so sad to say aloud, but there you have it. Any thoughts for the future? I mean, like most people, I hope Total War gets its act together the rest of the way. I mean, it's been really rough to see them lay off half their employees, especially coming into the holidays. I mean, that's tough. I mean, for me, I think there was a 50-50 chance whether or not it would be shuttered altogether or sold off. I mean, there was a definite possibility, in my opinion, that the company wasn't going to come back after this. So, I mean, it's good to see they at least have a future for the next couple of years, especially for all the people that are employed there. And you don't want to hear that a couple of years of bad decisions, tank a company forever. So I hope they turn it around. I hope they make some good stuff. I hope they get people excited again. So they're talking about, things people want to be excited about, because I feel like a lot of the anger is for, filling dead space. There's nothing else to talk about. So in the absence of content, people try to make their own. But, that's neither here nor there. The live chat, hopefully I did this correctly, and the live chat will still be in there when I am done. If there's people popping in on the side, Tom, and I'm not going to comment. There are things that I'll let them speak for themselves on that. So feel free to read some of that stuff, because I dare say some other people are weighing in on the side over there. Grey Tiger, who Major Modder, Grey Tiger, by the way, wonderful Warhammer 2 mods. He says, thank you for the tip, by the way. He says he's been paying attention. Looks like he missed a major developments. Not really. It's sort of funny that, theoretically the shuttering of the creator program is a major development, but it's also not at the same time. I mean, nothing stops anyone from covering Total War content. I mean, the difference is their videos will come out maybe the day something releases instead of 2 days before, a week before. It gives you less time with it, but overall, it's just not much actually changes in a weird sort of way. The big news, of course, this week was coming from that CA is Thrones of Decay is officially Thrones of Delay, and has been pushed back even further, and Shadows of Price Change is finally gotten enough traction as a meme that they're trying to do something about it. What it will be is anyone's guess. Yeah. And as I said, Walrus Boy, it's really not that big of a deal. It's 2 DLC a year is currently what we're tracking. $30. I mean, it's nice to not pay 30, but at the same time, if it, opens you up to all this other stuff, geez, is that worth it? Oof. All right. Other questions up at the front right there. Is it true that the leadership of Total War was left with no devs or employees, and they're now just going to patch Warhammer since they can barely do that? I don't know. This goes back to the thing I was talking about earlier. I can talk about that because there's nothing to talk about. I mean, basically, the program was a person or two people or whatever, and they acted as a liaison or sort of a gatekeeper between us and the company. So if anyone in the company wanted to talk to us, like in an interview to set something up, they contact this person who knows us. Same thing, vice versa. If we want to talk to someone, we use them as a contact and it goes up. I mean, that's how I arranged an interview with Jack Lusted back in the day, and one for the Troy guys. But I mean, both those were larger press junkets where they were doing like 30 interviews at the same time. It's just, that's what they're there for. They're a facilitation person. As far as like actual information, I don't know, your guess is as good as mine. I remember the first day I actually joined the program because I was so excited, and this is back in 2017. I sound such a nub saying it now, but it's like I was like, oh man, I'm on the inside. I'm gonna find out the truth, man. What are you guys working on next? What's the big stuff coming down the pipe? What is it? And the guy was like, I don't know. What do you mean, you know? Oh, it's not my department. Oh, okay. So it's just not gonna, huh? All right. Okay, cool. That's fine. It was just sort of like one of the biggest letdowns. It's like, all right, I'm on the inside. What's the inside look like? It's like the outside, but the walls are all painted like that pale tan color. Okay, this is nice, I guess. Oh man. How do you like Chick-fil-A challenges with no cheese? Dude, I loved it so much. And I was there the day after they stopped selling it. And I was so upset. I was like, what do you mean? It's seasonal. They're like, it's seasonal. I'm like, do you still have the supplies? No, we sent them back. Why would you do that? I actually drove into Atlanta to the Varsity just to get a pimento cheeseburger to try and satiate the whole of pimento chicken sandwich it left in my gullet, and it was not as good. Yeah, classic, not my job. Yeah, it's the outside with NDAs. Yeah, and that's what I was talking about there. You know, the NDA stuff is much more like this is just anytime a company sends an email, an official company, that's what the NDA is. It's like, hey, you're doing like protected speech between two parties. You know, don't talk about that. I mean, it's also a huge violation of privacy rights if you do that sort of thing, which is a whole different issue. It's like they're not gag orders. I mean, they're never meant to be that sort of thing. Recently done with evolving creators set up prize funds to keep from doing themselves. You know, it's funny. I haven't heard about that, Carl. So Carl on the side says, you should learn from Paradox and what they were recently doing with evolving creators who set up prize funds to do it themselves. And you know, that's where a lot of the sponsored video stuff came in. It's so weird because I just had this conversation with myself for the last 45 minutes. So like, I can't remember what I said previously right now. And I feel like a crazy person. But at least for myself, you know, that's what I would do with the sponsorship stuff. A lot of the film competitions were sponsored. You know, I would kind of make a space using their, like an extension. It's like, hey, I want you guys to do this thing. Oh, you don't want to do it internally? Okay, cool. So you'll pay me to run it for you. Yeah, sure. That sounds awesome, man. I'd love to do that. I actually work as a video editor. I mean, you know, that's my primary job. And I do that outside of YouTube. And so a lot of it's liaising back with local hospitals and stuff like that. And it's almost the same relationship when it comes to the sponsored stuff. Like I said, that was, you know, quite, you know, uncommon. It wasn't like it was happening regularly. So, yeah. Why was the Creator Club killed? I mean, it seems like it's a casualty of the larger cutbacks across the entire company. I mean, if you guys are not aware, I mean, the redundancies hit hard for the Creative Assembly, and it seems likely at least 40% of the staff, if not more, have been laid off. So they went from a company of 900 to a company of 450 to 400, 500. We don't know the outside numbers. Nobody's been told them. I mean, again, that's sort of the irony of things like the Creator Program. It's like, oh, you guys know you're on the inside. No. Like, it's funny. Like, I imagine mentally, I picture it sort of like, hey, here's a list of all like PC Gamer and like all like these websites, and here's our list. And they just sort of send both the lists out at the same time. Like, whenever I had gone to like a press event, like I would be sat right next to just like another generic press person who'd never even played the game a couple of times. I'm like, oh, hey, oh, you do this, you do that. Okay, cool. Awesome. Shake, shake, shake. Yeah, you hope the Delves ever land on their feet, man. It's a really poop time to be have this happen because it's happening all across the industry right now, and you know, I can't think of anyone hiring, to say it the least. And you know, is it bad timing? Is it everything kind of coming together? I don't know, man. It's just it's rough to say the least, and I wish them the best, but I'm not. The few people that I follow on Twitter to sort of keep track of that I know they got laid off have not been able to find anything. So if you know of something, reach out to them, I guess. I don't know what else to say on that. It sucks. That's all I can say is it sucks for them. It really does. And that's why you want to, people, you want to hear that the company does well and they make good games because more people want to play. It keeps people employed. Everyone kind of benefits from that, right? And so you wish them the best. Okay. Let me make sure I got all the previously asked questions on there. If you guys have them. Is the shilling operation over? It's a leading question. It implies it was a shilling operation. to begin with, which I've already covered. So I'm not even going to bother to answer it, I guess. That's not really a question. It's funny how many comments on here aren't questions. Will the Q&A be done with sock puppets? I wish. I looked for my puppet to make this a video initially, and I've forgotten that my kids had gotten a hold of it, and it looks like someone crucified this puppet. Like, he's missing eyeballs, like his face has been ripped out. I have to rebuild an entire puppet, and I'm just like, oh man, this is gonna suck if I ever have to do. Am I from the UK or US? Born in the US. I lived in the UK for a while. I got my went to uni over there, got my master's degree over there, and then moved back. So I have a lot of weird Britishisms and sayings because I lived there for a bit, and I picked them up. And you know, it's one of those funny things. You would still intend to oversee games going forward? Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. Like, you know, I was saying previously, it's funny you guys didn't hear it now, but I'm excited about Pharaoh still. Which I think the only, like, it's so funny because the whole reason this was brought up, because I popped into a Reddit thread. I've been avoiding the Total War Reddit for a while now and happened to pop in. And it's always the same 5 people I talk to, because it's these tiny little threads that nobody upvotes, but it's the same 5 people who talk about history in every single one of them. And we were discussing the historical implications of the names of the generals of the Sea People, and like the, you know, talking about like the different translations of the names and the implications that come with that. And it was so much fun. And it's so silly. It's so dorky to do that. And it's like the same 5 people every time. And if you guys are watching this, I adore all of you. And I appreciate so much those times, because it's been the same 5 people since Thrones of Britannia. It's like every time I'm like, hey, guys, the usual suspects. You're talking about the nonsense. What was the not safe for work channel? Yeah, there wasn't one. Because it's funny because so many people joined this, and I get the impression, you know, they were 16, 17, 18, you know, they were either in uni or just gotten out of uni, and they hadn't really had any experience with corporations or major jobs. And so for a lot of people, I think this is their first experience with that. I think a lot of people are always surprised. It's like, oh, I'm actually not that important, am I? I'm just like one cog in a never-ending machine, which sounds every bit as soul-crushing as you think it would. That's 10 years in education. I'll give you that, kids. It's weird to be the old man now, like, you know, who like tries to help kids out. It's like, all right, just trying to calm down a little bit. It's all right. You know, it'll be okay. 2 hands knows who I'm talking about. All right. Let's see. How Total War questions. A lot of comments, not a lot of questions over there. Oh yeah, CA Sophia, they're really trying. And the thing is, you know, I don't know. We don't know who got hit, who got laid off, whoever, you know, got moved this way or the other. So, you know, we'll find out what the further implications are for the studios as they go forward. You know, they were opening a new northern studio, like Creative Assembly North, which I don't know what happened with that. I mean, probably like Total War 3 Kingdoms 2. It just disappears into the ether. So, yeah, I mean, that's the sort of what we'll get at right there, and hopefully we'll see what happens with it. All shakes out. You know, it's going to take them some time to get back on track. I wish they were going a little quicker with it, because it would definitely make it so people have more to talk about. But, you know, it's not something I'm aware of or can control in any way, shape, or form, despite what the people may tell you otherwise. Cape sent me a message saying that they appreciate my YouTube stuff and super hype when you put me in the Chaos Doors trailer review. Love from Austria and Merry Christmas. Austria. We've been talking about visiting Central Germany and Central Europe at some point, not Germany. Obviously, Austria is not Germany. I'm aware of that. I had to become very aware of European boundaries when making Total War videos. Like, geez, do not step in that one. There have been claims. There have been claims that content creators get paid a lot of money every DLC game release. Can you please tell everyone how false it is? I addressed that previously. I had a whole thing I went into a minute ago, Samurai. So you got it right at the beginning. I go into the fact that, you know, not only is that not true, like the specifics of how those programs work, where these come from, how they're common across other places. I got into all of it. So please, if you see anyone posting something and you're like, man, that doesn't sound right, show them this right? Show this video to other content creators, see what they think. Some are going to disagree because at the end of the day, this is people. But a lot of the disagreements between people with the content creator program came down not with them versus the company versus them versus individual personalities within the company, as happens with everyone. I generally have, in the last year, had to take a new approach to life, which has been hard for me, frankly, which is do not attribute to malice that which can be explained by incompetence. Um, um, it's one of those razors like Occam's. The simplest answer is usually the most straightforward. And that's been a really tough one for me because, I was an angry young man, so many of us out there. And it was difficult to sort of swallow that. It's like, man, Hamlin's razor, thank you. Yes. And that's one that's been really tough to sort of comprehend. It's like, man, so much of my life is due to random acts of stupidity. Because it's true. Total War could have been purposely run in the ground specifically to spite every single one of us. Or, the other option there. Like I said at the beginning of this, I had to restart this whole thing over. I've been talking for 45 minutes. My wife has been keeping the kids, I think, driving around the block this entire time to let me stream again because I screwed up so badly. And they are sneaking in the back door now. So I'm going to have to end the stream because, like I said, I spoke to myself for 45 minutes. If you guys have any further questions that you feel I didn't touch on, or any parts of the program that you feel that, hey, I didn't explain properly, do make sure to post them in the comment section of the video. I'll try and respond to them as best I can. Don't be afraid to ask stuff, guys. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I apologize again. I feel like such a muppet. Merry Christmas out there, and happy holidays, folks. Sorry about that.